let me ask you something absolutely critical. Have you ever been disrespected? Or maybe misunderstood? Or maybe even flat out misrepresented? And that made you feel like everything of your life was just taken away, like pulled out of your chest, right? Almost like your stomach tightened before you even opt into changing or having a chance to say anything, or even before you opened up your phone. Like maybe your name got dragged in through rooms you weren't even in. You know what I mean? Or maybe people believed a story about you without even asking you any questions. Has that happened to you? Well, you're going to really like today. And what makes this thing even worse is if you're not even attempting to win at whatever, insert whatever. You're attempting to just protect your own peace. Now, we all protect our child. We want to protect our work. We want to protect our environment. We want to protect our mental health. We want to protect our peace. We want to protect our reputation. However, here comes the frustration. Like, here's the frustrating part that I see my clients that I work with deal with. They attempt to handle everything right away. How many of you just want to get that solution right away? You want to just change everything right away. And you explore maybe even legal options. Maybe you even make phone calls and you ask questions. And then you hear it. Unfortunately, Mr. Michael Hicks, we cannot take that case. So you're sitting there thinking, wow, this individual is an evil person. They're a fool. They're saying whatever they want to say and do whatever they want to do. And they twist whatever they want. And I'm just supposed to swallow it. Is that you? Today's episode is the person who's fighting the urge to react, especially in those situations. We know that when we react, that's generally what they want. And that can cost you everything. And I'm going to tell you right now, your healing won't come from getting even. Let me be very clear with that. It'll come from getting aligned with your mind, your body, and your soul. If you're new here, my name is Michael Hicks. I am the owner of Liv2Thrive. It is a transformation coaching agency that transforms your mind, body, and soul. And today's episode of the Michael Hicks, the Liv2Thrive Podcast, we are going to name your area that you're struggling with. So I'm going to take this moment right now, the name versus your nervous system. Here is the Liv2Thrive truth. When you've been slandered, or you maybe are battling a rumor, has that happened to you? You're battling what is called your nervous system response. Now, let me get a little bit more detailed for you on that. Your body goes into this threat mode, right? Where you don't eat, you do a lot of crying, your brain starts running movies of worst case scenarios, right? And your heart starts rehearsing maybe arguments, how to handle that particular session or argument. And your mouth starts writing checks for your future self that doesn't want to actually cash. You got me? So that's why some people snap. And it's not because they're evil. It's because they are dysregulated. And I'll go into detail with that. So biblically, there are two scriptures that I remember that talks about the tongue and self-control. All right? Proverbs 18 verses 21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." Blows my mind when I hear that and I read that Bible passage. And James 1 verse 19 says, "Be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry." It's hard to do, right? Because as soon as something happens, you want to lash out. You want to go right after it. You know, and that's not God telling you to be passive. Remember, we shouldn't be passive. But it's God telling us to be wiser and have discernment. And I'm going to go into that. I want to give you a few stories of clients that I've worked with, personal stories with myself as I'm writing my book, is the pain of being misunderstood. So I've coached people through this more times than I can actually count on my hands. And I remember a client that got accused of something they didn't do. In the process of me and them working on themselves to become better, it was a parent that maybe gets pointed like or painted like the villain, right? Or maybe it's the business owner that gets a review that straight up attacks their character, right? Or maybe it's a leader that gets slandered by someone they once helped. The common thread to many of these situations that I've been encountered with is it's not the lie that hurts the most, it's the helplessness. Like, I cannot do anything. And you cannot handle, it's not that you cannot handle hard work, it's you can handle growth, you can handle feedback, but what messes up the most that I find with people that I've worked with is that your mind is always attempting to do what is right when someone's playing dirty. Does that make sense? And if you're listening, you're thinking, Michael, this is me. I want to hear from you. You know, you don't need to do this survival thing by yourself. In fact, 1 Peter 3 verse 16, I want to give you this Bible passage. It says, "Keep a clear conscience, so that those who speak maliciously towards you against your good behavior may be ashamed." Notice what is said here. Let me get a little bit more detailed here. Don't fight everyone. It says keep your conscience clear. And you cannot have a clear conscience when your emotions are high. Here's 3 traps that I have seen the majority of people fall into when slander gets the best of them. Let's just call these traps out. Here they are. Trap 1, the explanation addiction. Let me get into detail on that, because this is critical here. You start over explaining. You start sending these paragraphs. You begin writing novels in text messages. And then what happens? You don't look innocent anymore. You know what you look? You look anxious. You look desperate. Trap 2 is the exposure fantasy trap, where you think if I can just expose them, everybody will finally understand what the pain I've gone through. Yet exposure, you know what often does? It turns into escalation. And we don't want that. Here's trap 3. The reputation spiral. Where you start living for the room, for the group chat, for the comment section, or for the people who weren't even assigned in your life. You know, Galatians 1 verse 10 says, "And now I'm attempting to win the approval of human beings or of God." And that's a question mark. This scripture is really humble for a second. So, because some of us are exhausted, let me be clear, that's not the problem. You're attempting to convince people who are committed to misunderstand us. There within lies the issue. So here's some evidence that I can put into a framework here for you. This is where Liv2Thrive comes into play. When you get slandered, you do not build your life. Remember this, everybody, what I'm about to tell you. You don't build your life around opinions. You know what you do is you build your life based on evidence. And here's the factor here. It's the evidence of life. All right? I'm going to give you 4 evidence of life. Here they are. If you're taking notes right now, this is probably a good time to write these down. But the first one is evidence of character. Who are you consistently? And especially when no one's watching. The second one is evidence of discipline. How do you respond under pressure? The third one is evidence of stability. How do you stay grounded in those dark moments? And the fourth one is evidence of outcomes. Is your life producing fruit? Matthew 7 verse 16 talks about, by their fruit you will recognize them. Michael, I don't have any fruit right now. I'm struggling in this drought. Not our time. God's time. His timing. Stay in the motion. Keep understanding the hope. And this is not done by rumors. It's not done through accusations. However, your own internal fruit. So here's what I teach my clients. Stop arguing with smoke and start building with your brick. All right. So what do I do? So here's a little bit of a spin here. Is what do you do when you get into this situation? Now, I want to be clear here. I'm not a legal expert by any means. However, I've encountered slander myself numerous times. I've had clients deal with it consecutively. And what happens when all these bad things happen and you go take it to a lawyer and the lawyer says, there's nothing we can do? Let's talk about that part that nobody really wants to admit out loud. And sometimes the legal route is not available. And that doesn't mean you have no other options, okay? It means your strategy needs to shift. I'm going to give you 3 Liv2Thrive moves that has worked personally for my life and as well as my clients. It's number 1, contain the circle. Stop explaining yourself to everyone else. Pick 2, maybe 3 trusted people and keep them in that circle. Proverbs 12:18 talks about the words of the reckless pierce like swords. You don't hand swords to the crowd. Document 2, or move number 2. Document and don't be dramatic about everything. In the situation, whichever slander piece that you're dealing with, document it. Because it does require documentation because those are facts, and facts can relate to calmness. No emotional essays, just facts. No character attacks, just facts, dates, and patterns. Repeated patterns of what you are experiencing. The third one is move with boundaries and not in bitterness. And let me explain this piece. Boundaries are actual protection. Okay? Protect us. Bitterness is poison. Hebrews 12 verse 15 says, see to it that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble. How many of you have to be in seasons of individuals that you have to deal with parents? And I'm saying this because I've got clients of mine that are like, okay, I'm in this holding pattern, Michael. I just got divorced. I'm dealing with an ex, insert narcissism, evildoer, fool, whatever it might be, right? But Hebrews 12 says, see to it that no bitter root grows up to cause trouble. It's not our job to cause trouble. And maybe the other person is. Let me get to number 4. Become unshakable in private. That's where it starts. Most people want public validation or vindication. However, stability grows from the private peace. And private stability is what changes your life. I want to break down for you right now. It is a it'll be about 6 minutes or so, maybe even less. It's a communication piece on what to say versus what not to say when you have been slandered. All right? So I'm going to give you about 6 minutes of communication in this segment right here that you can save for you that will help you get through the slander piece. And it could save you months of regret. Are you ready for it? Here we go. When you're slandered, the fastest way to lose is to start talking to someone and begin panicking. Right? And this isn't about being fake. This is about being really strategic and steady. So the Liv2Thrive way or rule is you don't trade your integrity for temporary relief. Remember that. Here's what not to say if you are slandered. I cannot believe you'd believe that about me. Or let me explain everything. Or they're narcissistic. I hear this all the time with my clients. They're narcissistic. They're a liar. They're crazy. Here's the other one, never say. I got proof. I can expose them. Or how about this? Everyone knows I'm a good person. Or I'm done being the nice guy. Or I just want to be done. When you're slandered, you don't want to sound loud. All right? You want to sound locked in. Here's what you can say when that happens. I'm aware that things are being said about me. However, I'm not going to engage in these utter disgusting rumors. And if you have a direct question, hey, I'm open to a direct conversation. Go to the source. Go to the source, people. Or I'm committed to handling this with integrity, with truth, with honesty. And I'm not going to respond emotionally in a text, a group thread, or even publicly. What I'm going to do is I'm really going to focus in on the peace, the truth, and what is right. Here's also another thing on what to say. I'm not going to debate my character. I'm just going to continue living it. Or here's another thing to say. I'm willing to communicate about logistics and what's maybe best for the child. However, I'm not available for personal accusations or attacks. I've got 2 more to say. That's just not accurate. Insert name. And I'm not going to argue with you about this. I'm just going to focus on moving forward in a healthy, constructive way. And the last thing I think I want to say when you're being slandered is, I'm keeping this contained and handled appropriately. And I appreciate your respect and discretion in this matter. And I'm going to give you the how to say it. Say it shorter, because shorter is stronger. Say it only one time. Repeat less. And remember, your tone, your tonality is your testimony. And if you're thinking right now, Michael, I hear it. However, in this moment, I lose it. that's actually why coaching matters, y'all. You cannot do some of the stuff by yourself. And Liv2Thrive just doesn't teach you what to do. It teaches you how to train yourself to become the person you can be under pressure. Does that make sense? Proverbs 15 verse 1. It talks about a gentle answer turns away wrath. Can you be gentle? Now, I know many of us have these battlefields, right? Where your identity is getting attacked. And here's what slander does to do. Like, slander wants to do this. It attempts to steal who you are, your identity, right? And as an identity and transformation coach, you know, reputation is critical. Identity is big. You know, you start asking questions like, am I crazy? Like, did I really do something wrong? Or why is this happening to me? Or why doesn't anybody else see the truth in this matter? And that's where your faith really matters. And I teach this to my clients is that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And I believe Isaiah 54 verse 17 says that. And it also says that doesn't mean that the weapon won't form, right? We live in a secular, ugly world based off of lies. However, what it means is if you have faith, it won't finish the job. Psalms 34 verse 19 says, the righteous person will always have troubles. However, the Lord delivers us from all of them. Hope, faith. We're all going to have troubles. And we may have many troubles. Not none, not zero, many. And if you're being under attacked right now, insert whatever it might be. You know, I just did my mastermind class. And one individual on there that was dealing with spiritual warfare, but we developed a system to have them overcome that. And the righteous person has these troubles, has these attacks. You're not being abandoned. You're being redefined. Almost like a diamond under tons of pressure. You got to have the pressure. I want to give you some stories, and of some clients that I've had in my coaching practice, and I'm not gonna give you their names due to obviously reasons, but I'm gonna give you some relatable stories that I think can really help you kind of draw the line. And this one client of mine was a parent who stayed calm, a parent that was dealing with constant blame, accusations. What else was it? Little jabs here and there, right? And the breakthrough wasn't winning the argument. The breakthrough was really responding with a structured system that I gave this parent through calm consistency. And you know what was awesome about this? And in fact, it happened within about a week to two, and now it's about 2 weeks. They begin to protect their peace and actually their own child through this matter. Second Timothy 1:7 says, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, however the power of love and a sound mind. I want to give you another story where this business owner that came to me with some other issues, but during the process of coaching them, they were under attack. Their character was being attacked publicly. They wanted to just go back at him. You might even seen some of the videos of, I think there's a jewelry store that I saw this guy. He went in and attacked the guy, and it was just because he was stealing fake merchandise and saying it was from his business, but it was just recorded. And I know we want to snap back publicly. Instead, I'm going to challenge you a little bit here. Build a strategy first. Contain it, document it, clarify it, and move forward. And when I worked with that, with my business owner that was a client, it happened over time, was that their reputation stabilized. And you know why? Their behavior stayed stable, calm, with clarity. Another story that I want to share with you is, how can I put this, is a client, I'm going to just say the person who forgave for freedom. That's hard to do. Forgiving. And this one was hard. This one was hard because I had experience with this. Is they forgave someone who never apologized to them. Right? And they didn't do this because the other person deserved it. However, they did it because they refused to stay chained to the offense. Does that make sense? When we can get rid of all types of bitterness and learn to be more kind, compassionate, forgive each other. In fact, I one of my daily affirmations that I use when I wake up each morning is, God, allow me to be more like you every single day and walk in Jesus Christ's footsteps. And I'm not saying this, what I'm about to tell you, to brag, but I was recently at a family event. We were at an indoor water park, and there was a man and a kid who, the kid maybe have been on the spectrum, and I don't think he could understand the boy, the weight of waiting. So he was acting out in a way that was obviously gaining attention and etc. There was a long line to get on to this ride. I saw the panic in the dad's face, and I was with a bunch of people. I said, go ahead of us. That's being kind and compassionate. So I want to give you today, first of all, thank you so much for being part of the Michael Hicks, the Liv2Thrive Podcast, formerly known as Framing New Heights. And I just want to share and say just thank you from the bottom of my heart for streaming in many different continents. And because of you, we're on my 4th year. And, I hope truly if you like this, hit the subscribe button and send it to 3 or 5 of your friends. And maybe this can help them. And I want to give you some tools that I call the 3-part reset, which is part of the identity of what I teach my clients is the mind, body, and soul. And we have various programs for various areas of your life. However, let's talk about the disrespect. When disrespect hits you, I'm going to give you some strategies on how to reset that. For your mind, let's start out with the mind piece. I want you to name the story. And here's what I mean. What story am I believing right at this minute? Is it that I'm powerless in this moment? Is it that I feel trapped? Or is it that I feel ruined? All right? So that's the mindset piece. Let me give you the body piece, all right? So the body piece is where you regulate, key word here, regulate before responding. Many people respond because they've got diarrhea of the mouth, and many men that I'm about to tell you, you do not know how to respond. React before you respond. Or let me say that again. That's what you do. That if you are a weak man or a weak person, you respond before anything else. I'm telling you to regulate it. So here's how you regulate it. I did an entire episode on how to breathe. There's a great breathing techniques. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's in my library. Check it out. But breathe, walk, lift weights, and pray. And I'm also going to add scripting. Do not type while being dysregulated. Do not send that nasty email when your emotions are high. Do not respond because someone else responded a certain way and immediately you want to go in and do whatever you want to do. You do not know how to regulate. That's a problem. Soul purpose. Releasing the need to be understood by everyone. When we get in these moments, I want you to do this. I want you to ask God, show me what's mine to own and what's mine to release. Very important. If you can cast all of your anxieties on Him, you're going to see a change because He cares for you. He cares for you. Do you care for Him as much? Or is everything else more important? If this episode is really hitting your chest, y'all, here's why my coaching agency exists. Knowledge is not the problem. Consistency is. Most people know they should do something. They just cannot do it when they're triggered, when they're tired, when their emotions are high, or even when they're under pressure. And that's what I do at Liv2Thrive. I help you build a response system for your life that authentically becomes your purpose, which is your mindset, your body, and ultimately your soul. So if you do want to work with me, here's your move. You can email me at michael@liv2thrive.com. That's Liv, the number 2, thrive. And you can just, on the subject line, type in thrive, and I'll send you the next steps. The next steps are this simple. You watch a 10-minute video. If you like what I say in that video and that resonates with you, I give you the opportunity to apply. The application is about 13, 14 questions. No pressure, just clear clarity. If I know I can help you, once you submit that to me, that questionnaire will probably take maybe 10, 15 minutes. The more you put in, the more I can help you create that identity that you're looking for. And then what I do is I book a 1-hour free journey call for you to show you how I can narrow that gap and create the change that you want. So, can't sleep, got the aches and pains. You got to check out this CBD oil, which is honest tested. It's proven formula. I tell you, it's great. All you do is you take 9 drops, put it underneath your tongue about 30 to 40 minutes before you go to bed. You sleep like a baby. You're going to wake up refreshed. You're going to become a better person. Sleep is so detrimental for all of us. Now, if you want to take advantage of this, you can simply go to superfungummies.com. At the checkout, just type in, or cap locks, New Heights. New Heights is the promo code. You can get 50% off. There's 3 different sizes. Highly suggested. So if you got aches and pains, you cannot sleep, it's proven formula, honest tested. Got to check out that supplement. It is awesome, awesome, awesome. So let me land the plane today. You can be kind and still have a backbone. You can be forgiving and still have boundaries. You can be a person of faith and still be strategic. Micah 6 verse 8 says this so beautifully. It says, act justly, love mercifully, and walk humbly with your God. That's the blueprint. So if you've been slandered, if you've been disrespected, if you've been misunderstood, or even attacked, don't hand your future away for a moment of revenge. Stay clean, stay calm, stay consistent, and remember, your life is louder than any lie that anyone can say about you. And that's it for today. My name is Michael Hicks, the Liv2Thrive host podcast. And if you truly resonated with you, punch that subscribe button. As always, my name is Michael Hicks, the host with the most. 1% better every single day in mind, body, and soul. And always stay flexed.